Feuchamaich, ye Olde Scot the Celtic podcast. Kimraha Huladunya, how is everyone? On today's show in Feuchamaich, Beagan, Gaelic, that's Let's Try Little Gaelic. Frustrated with Gaelic and Celtic history? Share with you a secret, and it begins with the bees. In everyday Celtic ways. We're going to hear music from
the Coily, Killing Casey. Oh, I like cool.
And in History of Ireland. The 11th of June, 1534, Thomas Fitzgerald, the 10th Earl of Kildare, publicly renounces his allegiance to Henry VIII of England. Just a few short years later, February 3rd, 1537, Fitzgerald is arrested, hanged, drawn, and quartered at Tyburn, sending a clear message from Henry VIII of England he wasn't going to put up with that crap. If you're already a subscriber to the Ye Olde Scot YouTube channel and enjoy the variety of interesting videos and podcasts that we produce weekly, then you should join us on the Ye Olde Scot Facebook group. Not only do you get all the great videos you already enjoy, but so much more. Come and connect with your Celtic community here on Ye Olde Scot Facebook group. Learn the history of Gaelic songs as you learn to sing them. Gaelic and English lyrics are provided to give you a deeper understanding of the song, to guide you when you're learning, or just sit back and enjoy these beautiful songs. Feuchamaich. It's a very traditional Gaelic song. It is a song of unrequited love for a young fisherman. There are many versions of the song, but this version says it was written at the end of the 18th century by Sinead Nic Finlay from Tong on the Isle of Lewis for Donald McCrae of Uick on the Isle of Lewis as well. He is the boatman that she laments so much for, and while this song is full of despair, in reality the couple ended up marrying a year after the song was written. Songs, in general, tend to exaggerate words and sounds to fit the song to the music, and Gaelic music is no exception. So look out for some of the words that are just nonsense words that sound good and make the song work. So enjoy learning the song Feuchamaich.
You pracować, ak sa na hágach uniu kráčim, ko korach mieša mahok mi kráhy. Iravata na horu ila, Iravata na horu ila, Iravata na horu ila, mahori slame skakačam čeću, Iravata na horu ila, Iravata na horu ila, Iravata na horu ila, mahori slame skakačam čeću.
Scottish Gaelic is native to the Gaels of Scotland. Scottish Gaelic developed out of the Old Irish, and learning this beautiful language can be a direct link to your Gaelic ancestors. Follow along in Feuchamaich Beagan Gaelic, and like I said, let's try a little Gaelic. Frustrated with Gaelic? An easy way to keep the Scottish Gaelic language alive is to keep it in your daily vocabulary. Little bits here and there to let those around you know how important it is to you. This is especially important if you have small children. They will have the benefits of learning another language and share a common link with you and your heritage. All right, today we're going to be talking about telling time. And before you start on that, though, you got to kind of get a refresher of the numbers. Make sure you're getting them right, at least 1 to 12. So here we go. Un, 1. Ja, 2. Tree, 3. Keher, 4. Koik, 5. Shia, 6. Shak, 7. Ok, 8. Noi, 9. And Jek, 10. Then from there it's Un Jig for 11. Ya Yig for 12. Tree Jig for 13. Keher Jig for 14. Koik Jig for 15. Shia Jig for 16. Shak Jig for 17. Och Jig for 18. Noi Jig for 19. And Fikit for 20. All right, that should get you going onto the clock now. All right, Nahuren, the hours. We'll start with number 1. Un, Uur. Da Uur is 2. Tree Uuren, 3. Keher Uuren, 4. Koik Uuren, 5. Shia Uuren, 6. Shak Uuren, 7. Och Uuren, 8. Noi Uuren, 9. And Jek Uuren, 10. Un Uur Jig, 11. And Da Uur Yig, 12. Now, the Uuren is a clock. Basically, 3 Uuren is 3 o'clock. You need to know this to respond to the question, Jn Uur Ahae. What time is it? And it would be 3 Uuren. Hae 3 Uuren. Now, if you want to get more specific with the time, or be more casual with the time, we'll move on with en tam, the time. Mian la, middle day. Mian oicha, midnight. Koik minutchen asj, 5 minutes after. Jake minutchen asj, 10 minutes after. Karstjo SJ, quarter after. Fikit minich SJ, 20 minutes after. Coik Minichin Ficit SJ. 25 minutes after. Le Ur SJ. Half past or half an hour past. Coik Minichin Ficit Gu. 25 minutes to. Ficit Minich Gu. 20 minutes to. Karshel Gu. Quarter to. Jake Minichin Gu. 10 minutes to. Coik Minichin Gu. 5 minutes to. And then, of course, you're dead set. All right.
You brought me up out of the water. You brought me up to forget I had ever been, I could ever breathe in the water under your heart. Darkened your door and your days, you said you couldn't sleep that night with the sound of the sea hard on my heel, climbing the stairs to your bed. You promised me gloves from the scales of the fishes, the smile of the dolphin for a ring in my hands. You left me with nothing but a mouth full of air and promises white as the ocean. You left me down for once and for all. You left me out in the open under mackerel sky, high and dry, out of the reach of our sea, way out of reach and out of my depth. I wear your love like a skin that hurts when anyone touches me, where you left me down for once and for all, out of the reach of our sea. never breathe in the water under your eye. In the water under your eye. In the water under your eye.
Celtic history brings you the tales of the land, castles, warriors, heroes, legends, and customs that have created the rich, vibrant, and sometimes strange and wonderful history of the Celtic world. Alright, so the chalice she's holding has a bunch of grapes engraved on it, but that's not what's inside. Oh no. Come a little closer and I'll share with you a secret, and it begins with the bees. In ancient times, Ireland was renowned for its abundance of honey. In fact, Gerald of Wales, who was Archdeacon of Beagan in the 12th century, claimed there would have been more still if not for the bitter and poisonous effect of the land's many yew trees. Now, the Irish word for bee is beck, pronounced beck, with a soft CH sound in the back of your mouth. In Old Irish, it was beck. Bees were considered so important that they had a complete section all to themselves in the Brehon laws, called Beck Brea, which means bee judgments. Now, I love the Brehon laws. They had a section regarding women's rights, children's rights, fosterlings, protecting trees, caring for the sick, injured, and disabled. But here they're looking after the bees. Now, I'm not sure what stage our Irish ancestors began keeping bees in hives. The Beck Brea talks a lot about finding swarms, which makes me think that perhaps most of the honey they obtained was from the wild. Now, although hives are also known to swarm, it could have been anyone. For example, if someone found a swarm on the grounds of a house, according to Brehon law, he would be entitled to keep a quarter of the bees and honey, but the rest would go to the house's owner. If he found a swarm in a tree, he would get half. If he found it on common tribal grazing ground, he would keep all but 1/9, which must go to the clan chieftain. Now, an owner of bees was required by law to donate portions of his annual yield of honey to his neighbors because his bees would be gathering pollen from flowers on their land, and every third year he was to give them a swarm. Now, destroying a swarm or hive of bees was considered a serious offense. If someone was stung by someone else's bees, they were entitled to compensation. A woman separating from her husband would be entitled to take a swarm with her, or be compensated with a year's supply of honey. These lawmakers sure thought of everything, I'm telling you. Now, there is a story in the Beck Brea about a king of Ulster named Congal, in which it was written that Congal was blinded in one eye by bees owned by Donald MacEdhu. Now, this disability meant he was forced to relinquish his position as King of Tara, and thus High King of Ireland. A king, of course, at that time was required to be physically whole and unblemished. Otherwise, it was thought that he would bring misfortune to his people. Now, in return, the men of Ulster demanded that the eye of Donald's son be put out as punishment. Quite literally, an eye for an eye. So if the early people of Ireland had so much honey, what did they do with it all? Now, you have to remember that this was their only source of sweetener. Apart from fruit and berries, it was very valuable and much sought after a commodity, probably confined mostly to the more wealthy. Now, they mixed it with milk to make a drink, mixed it with lard as a flavoring, used it as a dip at mealtimes for meat, fish, and bread, used it to flavor their porridge from grains, and basted meat and fish with it during roasting and grilling. Now, according to mythology, when Queen Maeve and her husband, Elixir, hosted a young local chieftain named Feuchamaich to a huge feast in his honor, the salmon he was served was basted in honey. Now, this was well made by their daughter, Finnabar. Sounds like a bit of matchmaking was going on there for me. Now, in Ireland, the saint of beekeepers is Gaidhlig, who was a 5th century nun. The anglicized version of her name, Deborah, means honeybee. Now, she is said to have saved her village, Ballyvourney, in Irish Ballyvourney, in County Cork, from enemy soldiers by releasing her bees on them. She is also credited with aiding a devout local chieftain in battle by turning his bees into an army of men. Wow. Today, we are all well aware of the health benefits and medical uses of honey. Well, maybe it's not some. Healing with substances provided by bees has a name: apothecary. Now, who knew? Modern science has told us that honey has antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-mutagenic, it reduces the mutation of cells, that's what that means, anti-tumor, and anti-diabetic properties, and speeds the healing of wounds. And our ancestors were well aware of all this and made full use of it. However, honey wasn't only golden treasure to be bestowed upon mankind by those industrious little creatures. Oh no. Man found something he could do with honey that he liked even better than stirring it into his porridge or applying it to his wounds. And he named it me, or as we know it better today, mead.
There's a wee thing, especially for you older members of the audience who've got your families all grown up working, but they're still staying at home with you. And we actually are going to tell you a story we got from a man in a pub we met last week. Now, we went into this pub, and you can always tell the husband who's going through this stage because he's standing there on his own. He's been forced out again. Oh, aye. Standing there with his elbows on the bar, and he's got the haggard look with the big bags under the eyes. Oh, yes, the hair's all over the place, the bowed shoulders, and you can always tell him he's got a double whiskey in that hand and a pint of heavy in that hand. He just doesn't know where the hell to start. You know what I mean. Anyway, what we're going to do is tell you his story exactly as he told it to us that night. You ready, Maestro? So I went up to the bar, I said, Reg, give me a whiskey and I'll join this man. I went up to him and said, here, you look awfully sad. What's your problem? He says, oh, he says, it's the kids. He says, you know, as I stand over here in the bar with a beer, and I think on the years of my life, I was never a fool. I did quite well at school. Then there was college, a job, and a wife. Now, when the children came along, life was really a song. They were good kids, as far as I could see. But now that they're grown, they treat the house as their own. And there's two of them bigger than me. And he sang, home has certainly changed, where the kids and the stereo play, where seldom is heard an intelligent word, 'cause the radio's blaring all day. It's nice to be among kindred spirits. I said, you know, it can't be that bad. He says, it is. He had a wee sip of his whiskey. He said, you know, the kids, they sit in my seat and they tap me for cash, and it seems that the phone's never free. There's dirty cups on the carpet and half-full mugs in the hall, and there's crumbs where the biscuits should be. They've got their top of the pops and the old grey whistle test, the Chinese detective and David Soul. I can't stand fame, I don't know who's to blame, I just don't have the remotest control. And he sang, home has certainly
Try it if you like.
changed,
Where the kids and the stereo play,
where the kids and the stereo play,
where seldom is heard
where seldom is
an intelligent word, 'cause the radio blaring all day.
Oh, so sad. Says, what with their personalised stereos and rings in boys' ears, leather jackets and bright coloured hair, I'd like to escape get out for a wee run, but the big lad has borrowed my car. They've just had their friends in. There were quite a few there, and the hi-fi's so loud I can't think. They've finished the coffee, and we've run out of tea, and they've had my whiskey, so I can't take to drink, no. Oh, home has certainly changed.
Where the kids in the stereo play,
Where the kids and the stereo,
where sound is heard, where sound and intelligent. Because the radio, blaring.
Mind you, life does have its compensations, because he downed his whiskey and he finished his pint. A twinkle came back in his eye. He stood back in the bar, he squared his shoulders and he said, you know, as I stand over here in the bar with my beer, between strangers and a loud space machine, it's becoming quite clear I'm not being fair when I think how the kids could have been. Oh yes, 'cause they do clean out the car and they work hard at their jobs. They cut the grass and they help with the tea. Oh, you know, really, I'm lucky, 'cause they're fit and they're well and they're home where we all want to be. And then he changed his song and he sang, oh, home has suddenly changed, where the kids and the stereo play. No more will be heard a discouraging word, 'cause we'd miss them if they went away.
Everyday Celtic Ways brings you the mythology, traditions, and customs that have created a unique and personal culture that still affects those that are Celtic and those that just love the Celtic world. This event may look relatively easy, but remember, it's a 56-pound weight. Only a Scot could think they could defy gravity. Where the other events rely on technique as much as raw strength, this event relies almost solely on raw strength with the simplest of technique.
In front. Under.
Although some athletes have managed to encompass the spin to this event with obvious benefits.
Over.
Longer.
19-4. Oh shit. Stop fighting, man. Come on. I've never seen it before.
Where have you been all along summer's day? Sun, tell it unto me. Fishing and a fowling in the fields and in the forest. Weary mother, let me be. Weary mother, let me be. Who put the blood on your right shoulder? Son, tell it unto me. It's the blood of a hare that I killed yesterday. I killed most manfully. the blood of a boy that I killed yesterday. I killed most manfully. Oh, I killed most manfully. What was between yourself and the boy? Son, tell it unto me. It was mostly the cutting down of a rod that never would come to a tree. Oh, it never would come to a tree. What do you do when your daddy finds out? Son, tell it unto me. I will put my foot on board of a ship and sail away. Sail to a foreign country. Sail to a foreign country. What do you do with your lovely wedded wife? Son, tell it unto me. She can put her foot on board of a ship and follow me. Follow after me. Follow after me. What do you do with your two fine babes? Son, tell it unto me. I'll give one to my father and the other to my mother to keep them company. Oh, to keep them company. What do you do with your house and your land? Son, tell it unto me. I will lay them bare to the birds and the air. There's no more welcome for me. Oh, there's no more welcome for me. What do you do in the winter of your life? Son, tell it unto me. Like a Sally in the rock, I will bend in the wind and pray for the God's mercy. Oh, 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 pray for the God's mercy. Pray for the God's mercy.
Top 11 Heritage. Now remember to check out my YouTube channel. It's got Celtic music, podcasts, Gaelic language, Gaelic song, Celtic history videos, plus lots more. And my Facebook group where you can give me your inputs and insights on all things Celtic.
Goodbye, Apple Baby. Masha Weave.
Goodbye, everybody. But I'm going to let you go with a song.
Big Nellie May. Now I'll tell ye the story of Big Nellie May. She took up the golf in a serious way. With her shiny new clubs and her big plastic bag, she could easily have passed for Jack Nicklaus in drag. With a toodle-lie, oodle-lie, oodle-lie. That's a wee toodle chorus, would you like to try that, cousin? With a toodle-lie, oodle-lie, oodle-lie. Now Nellie was handicapped more than the rest. Her stroke was impaired by the size of her chest. Her overdevelopment proved her downfall. When she swung, they both swung, and all missed a ball. Where well, Nellie decided they hampered her stroke, so she tethered them up with a big piece of rope. But they didn't like being tied up in a noose, and the very next stroke both rascals were loose. Well, in sheer desperation, she turned to the pro, who looked at poor Nell and said, well, I don't know. I've only seen two that look like yours do, and they were on a camel in Calder Baxter. Well, this pointed remark at the poor girl's physique caused Nelly to lash out in a great fit of pique. Her blow caught the pro in his most cherished spot, and now he's got two just as big as she's got.